Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's Dave here on Hump Day, Afternoon Rush, May 28th, 2025. These are all the stories we got for you today. We'll be discussing Southwest Airlines as their new baggage policy has gone into effect. And Tiger King not too happy about all the pardons as he is not receiving one. And then information on Laura Owens as the police report has come in following her getting raided at early morning hours at our home in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then more on Blake Lively in the Amicus brief that was filed. What does this actually mean? Well, of course, we hear from some of our favorite lawyers as they educate us random, non-legal experts on all of the ins and outs of the ongoing case. It's always good to learn something here on the podcast. And speaking of learning, we're learning about all of the fraud and abuse that came out from Doge. No, that is in the big, beautiful bill. A town hall leaves the constituents upset that their leader voted for this bill, and get it, he says, I didn't actually read the bill, my bad. You're going to lose your mind when you see this clip, so stick around for that. And then more on the food and other aid, humanitarian aid getting into Gaza as they are in the middle of absolutely awful hunger. And what does this mean as one U.S. organization is allowed to have one distribution center and the chaos that's involved? I'll get into that story and so much more. It's all happening right now on The Rush. All right, let's start out first with our Southwest Airlines. And you know what? This is such my luck. What's that saying? If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have none at all, which I don't really believe. I've been a lucky guy. But either way, of course, today, or tomorrow, I should say, I'm flying Southwest. The first day that they've got their new baggage fees. So again, the only benefit to flying Southwest was that you got a couple free checked bags, and they took that away from us. Boy, what a tough year it is.
Effective tomorrow, any sort of new tickets will be facing bag fees. This is an airline that was famous for bags flying free. According to the Wall Street Journal, the pricing is going to be $35 for the first bag, $45 for the second. Again, that is not insignificant, and that's going to apply now for their basic, Want to Get Away Plus, and Anytime fares. These are the most popular fares that Southwest sells. If you have the credit card, you won't have to pay those fees. But again, effective tomorrow, those will take effect. If you buy a ticket today, even if that travel is for later on this year, you still have your bags fly free. And remember, Southwest is also going to change their seating policy sometime later on this year as well. It's not going to be that open situation where you can just sit down at any open seat. They're going to start later on this year enforcing a seat assignment for tickets beginning in 2020.
So basically, there's so much culture that exists around Southwest Airlines. I've seen videos where people will choose their seats, but like not have a middle person, and then they'll like sort of stuff a sweatshirt full of their luggage to make it look like a person sitting there just to avoid getting someone sitting middle. I mean, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos over there at Southwest. You know, you got to check in at the 24-hour mark. You have to set your alarm for some ungodly hour so that you can check in and get Group A. You forget to check in your Group D. You're basically hanging on in the fuselage. This company, and by the way, all they had to do was bake in the cost of whatever bake the cost of the baggage fees into the flight, and you wouldn't have such bad press. But again, this was an uproar. They're like, oh yeah, but if you get the credit card, listen, why do we need a credit card for everything? Everything in this country is credit card this, rewards points that. Just tell me the dang price. This is why I like going to Trader Joe's. They'll just tell you the price of the dang thing. You don't need to do some. Are you a member of the McDonald's Golden Arch? No, I'm not. Well, you get free French fries. Just tell me the dang price of the thing. Right? Everyone's trying to acquire all your info. I mean, have you been on one of these flights where they wake you up to try to sell you their new mileage program? It's like, just crash the plane already. I'd rather have to deal with that than deal with, Southwest and their shenanigans. All right, let's move it on. That's my gripe for the day. Chucky actor Ed Gale dead at 61. And sadly, this is the first time I'm learning that there was an actual person that played the Chucky actor. I just thought it was a doll. I thought they used a doll. The actor who played the horror icon Chucky in some of the Child's Day films died at 61. And I have to tell you, anyone of the older millennial generation like myself has a lot of nightmares from Chucky. I mean, that was one hell of a horror film series, right? Are they going to bring back Chucky? I don't know if it hits with the current people the way it did with my generation, but the idea of a possessed doll killing you. I mean, we all had dolls, right? We didn't all have 30 dolls like Trump wants us to believe, but we all had a couple dolls. And to think that we could look at, Woody in his eyes and all of a sudden he's going to come out there and stab us to death. Not cool. All right, as you guys know, I've become an All-American Rejects fanboy page, and I just love hearing the All-American Rejects as artists talk about making art and how the industry has affected them, right? They have been protesting the exorbitant fees that are, from Ticketmaster, and how, the corporatization of culture has really ruined art for a lot of people, and they explain why they took such a long break because of it.
The band took a break for 12 years or so. You haven't put out a full length in maybe 12 or 13 years.
Yeah.
Why the break? Just because you were burnt out? I think you mentioned the last record, you just kind of looked at each other and said, we need a break, or I need to take
we needed a break. We had become an assembly line for ourselves that was basically fostered by that man barking on your shoulder, pressing you to get a record finished. And also, we had, in 2010, we played more shows than any other artist on the road. We played 290 shows. It was like us and the Roots. When you do that and you wrench your soul so much, and you're like, oh wow, from 17 to 28, I stayed in this beer time capsule of road in a bus, and I didn't read books. I barely had time to wake up every day, and it's this vampiric existence that you can lose yourself in. And so many great artists have. We talk about one-hit wonders. There's a lot of lottery ticket stories with one-hit wonders. I'm going to let go of this and see adage is true that if you love it, let it go. And I grew up in my 30s. I had lived experience. I got to digest what happened in my 20s, and then I also had something to really write about. I think I just wrote a lot of. My first record was about this teenage. It was a young man. It's like looking at a yearbook and going, could you put on those clothes again and take that picture again?
Swing,
kick
right?
your ass. Yeah. No. And I'm so proud of him. I always put him as he's very outside of me today.
So I think that's really cool that they're getting this success a decade plus after, and are able to relive and perform the songs that they wrote from a different time capsule of their life. And I'm actually very interested to see what their new album is all about. I can tell you this, a month ago, I wouldn't have cared about the All-American Rejects and their new music, but now I kind of want to see what they have left in the tank. Well, we don't have much left in the tank for Tiger King. Tough day for him. He roars over Trump's snub, fuming over the Chrisleys' pardon. As mentioned, the Chrisleys, they committed tax fraud. They didn't pay their taxes. They, filed fake information, fraudulent information to get loans out, lived this lavish lifestyle. From all that I can tell, there was a reason why they were behind bars, and there was a reason why they were serving this lengthy sentence. Now, of course, they were pardoned yesterday, or in the process of pardoning. And Joe Exotic, look, I don't know how I feel about him. I'm truly torn. I can definitely mess with the theory that he was a victim of entrapment, where they set up a scenario where he was going to do murder for hire. It sounds crazy to even talk about. I don't know if he was ever actually going to try to get Carol Baskin murdered, but that's kind of what he's in jail for, if I have the story correct, right? Well, after the Chrisleys were pardoned yesterday, he has responded. So Doug Warner posted this: Joe Exotic, so how fair is this? Someone in our newsroom called it moments after President Trump pardoned reality star Todd and Julie Chrisley. We just received an email from Joe Exotic from Tiger King fame wanting to know why he's not on a short list to be pardoned. So here was his response: I have never been more disappointed in my life that President Trump is pardoning all of these people that have actually committed crimes. And yet the president leaves me in here as an innocent man, even after the government witnesses admitted to perjury on world television in season 2 of Tiger King. The government's so-called hitman even took the producers of Tiger King and my lawyer, John Phillips, to the zoo and showed them where he hid a murder weapon in the woods and told him how he planned to kill me if putting me in prison didn't work to steal my zoo. All right. It's crazy. It's crazy. He then added this in a separate tweet. I guess being innocent is not enough in America. And he questioned why the entire world can see he's innocent while the White House refuses to acknowledge what he believes is evidence of perjury committed against him in season 2 of Tiger King. Now, you got to give the Tiger King some grace here because literally everybody else is getting pardoned. I mean, they're doing it in plain sight. The corruption is insane.
A new report from the New York Times reveals details about Donald Trump's pardon of a man convicted of tax fraud just 1 month after his mother attended a major fundraiser for the president. Former nursing home executive Paul Walzak pleaded guilty to tax crime days after the 2024 election and was ordered to pay more than $4 million in restitution and serve 18 months in prison. The Times reports a pardon application submitted around the time of Trump's inauguration cited Walzak's mother and her support for Trump, claiming her political activity motivated the prosecution against him. Trump eventually granted that pardon.
So I guess if you can angle your prosecution as persecution, political persecution, then he'll pardon you. I guess so. Tiger King needs to say, oh, he got arrested because he's a fan of Trump. I don't really know. Listen, I'm not going to die on the hill of Tiger King, and I think that's the problem is most people don't care enough. But if there's any shred of evidence that he's falsely imprisoned, even though we look at him as kind of a silly guy who's, kind of rough around the edges, I mean, he deserves his day in court. And you might say he already had one, but I mean, I think at the very least they could revisit that. I'm not saying they should pardon him, but, there's probably definitely more to look into with that case. All right, coming up next, we've got Laura Owens and the police raid details, and then we'll get into what Blake Lively attorneys have to say regarding the Amicus brief. Now, what's interesting with this, again, I covered this in about an 18-minute long video if you want to see me read the entire police report. But what's interesting is just how insane this story is. I mean, it's kind of crazy that as we still report on this, we can go from the fact that she was threatening to silence us if we even shared her story. We knew she was lying to our face, but the fact that the police are finally getting involved, doing a raid where they almost needed a battering ram. So Justice for Clayton official has all the details here. I'm just going to read their SparkNotes version, so thank you so much for compiling this. Upon entering the Owens family residence, police learned from Laura's father, Ron Owens, that he currently has cancer and his appearance is frail. Laura refused to comply with police orders to exit the casita. She argued with them, locked the door, went to her bed, and called her attorney, Baby Jingy. Laura showed erratic behavior, falsely claiming police had their weapons drawn at her, and yelling that her father cannot walk despite him doing so with a walker. Laura was erratic the entire time by claiming Scottsdale police were not the real police. Now, folks are wondering, what does this mean? Well, this, whatever information they got from this 5-hour-long raid was used to charge her with 7 felony counts. And they even said in this police report that they had enough information on them to possibly arrest her at the time, even though they didn't. They threatened to handcuff her. She's claiming that they were assaulting her. They've got body cam footage. They all have it on. Trust me, Scottsdale police weren't going to show up without body cam footage. Body cam footage is got to be the best thing. I mean, get me a Peace Prize for whoever invented the body camera, right? The body camera. Because, I mean, it's the one thing that keeps everybody accountable. It helps police do a better job because they know they're being watched. I mean, honestly, we've all had those side jobs where we probably would have benefited from having a little surveillance on us. You F around, you're playing kissy face behind this, you're going to the walk-in fridge at work. I know what happens in that walk-in fridge. You're not there looking at the different types of lettuce. You're hooking up with a chef. I've seen it. Okay. Either way, no body cam footage in the walk-in fridge. And don't go in there. You might get stuck in there. But either way, this is fascinating. Tomorrow is her arraignment. We will find out what she's going to plead and get a lot more information about what if she has a criminal defense attorney. Folks, some think she does, some think she doesn't. I'm really not sure. But we did receive information that I'll be dropping tomorrow morning. That is some pretty interesting tea regarding Laura Owens and whether or not she'll make her way into a documentary of this case. I'll have that on tomorrow morning's Rush. I know, what a tease, what a tease. All right, well, Not Always Golden is one of our favorite lawyers covering the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively case. And what happened yesterday was an amicus brief was filed. I, of course, Googled it and read a little bit about what it means, but I wanted to share with you guys what an actual lawyer had to say about it. Here is not actually Golden describing for us why these things are filed, what they actually mean. Is this a big deal? Have a listen.
Is that amicus briefs do not change or alter or modify at all the legal issues or the factual issues in a case. They are there to assist the judge or judges, the decision maker, with a legal decision. They don't speak to them about what facts they should or shouldn't believe. That's outside of the scope of what they're allowed to do. They're there to help the court understand a legal issue in the case. So,
all right. So then she gives a kind of a bird's eye view of what is the amicus brief and how is it applied and what will the judge think. Now, in this idea of an amicus brief, a friend of the trial, someone who has nothing to do with the specifics, but here I'm presenting information to help you. You got to imagine a judge could take it for what it's worth.
Novel, and we thought we'd help you understand what it's about. Now, that could have the effect on the judge of saying like, oh, that's really good. I'm so glad I know the context for this. Let me go back and look at this issue again. Or it could have the effect of him saying, excuse me, I think I know how to do my job. I'm a federal judge. I don't need this. Thank you. Now, he's probably going to accept them because accepting them costs him nothing. He can accept them and not ever read them. He can accept them and completely ignore them in his rulings. He has no obligation to do anything with them whatsoever. They're just there. They don't have to be considered. They don't change anything. They don't modify anything. Like, they're just there. It's like an extra resource on his shelf to say like, hey, as I'm drafting my order on the motions to dismiss on the California law, I just want to make sure I cite a little bit more about what this provision means.
All right. So again, great job by not actually Golden in letting us know what the heck these things mean. So the judge can do with it what he wants or doesn't want to do. Again, it's a whole lot of different ways to say there's a lot of hands working and mouths to feed here with this case. People, are worried. Obviously, those that the advocacy group is worried that if the judge, speaks that there's no merit to this new rule signed in by Governor Gavin Newsom, that it could hurt them because they're there to help whistleblowers call out, instances of either workplace violence, assault, the Me Too movement. And again, how it doesn't apply here is that Blake Lively isn't being silenced. Justin Baldoni is just defending himself. So you can understand why people are saying this doesn't even apply. But, if you're at the advocacy group, you want to make sure that at least the judge is educated in what your rule means, right? Because then it's a federal judge, but this is a California law that was signed into place. So again, no expert on it, kind of confusing stuff.
What are you seeing him do?
There is your update. Okay, let's get into this. We made a video the other day about whether or not there is a new world war approaching us, with Putin obviously being in his squabbles with Donald Trump. For a while, people thought they were friends, and now Trump saying he's very mad at Putin. Now Putin is lining up troops on his border with Finland. Oh boy, what the hell is going on here?
Putin is building up his military along Finland's border. Mr. President, what exactly are you seeing him do along your border right now? What is happening?
Well, we Finns are cool, calm and collected. We have the border under full control. Russia has always had military bases along our border, and there's a normal buildup. You have to remember that 4 brigades were moved from the Leningrad military district when the war began in Ukraine, and our expectation is that there will be a build-up after the war is over, and that build-up will continue. And the reason is very simple. We have one of the largest militaries in Europe, together with Turkey, Ukraine and Poland, and on top of that we have just doubled NATO's border. So that's normal Russian activity. We have obligatory military service, 900,000 men and women who've done it. We have over 60 F-18s. We just bought 64 F-35s. We have the largest artillery in Europe together with Poland.
All right, so they're basically saying, don't mess with us. I didn't know any of that. I'm learning new information right there about Finland. I mean, this guy's cool, calm, and collected. I wouldn't want to mess with this guy. He looks like a Bond villain, right? I mean, in the good way. Good-looking dude here. So the president, respectfully speaking, the president of Finland, pretty good-looking guy. Don't mess with the good-looking president out there. Now, this is what's crazy, right? Because on one end, everybody before the election was like, Trump's going to end this war on day one. And now Trump's saying they're going to roll back some laws that were put in place to keep Ukraine from using weaponry far into Russian territory. Now Trump is thinking he might roll that back. So will his base now be on Ukraine's side? It's like, hey, look, better late than never, folks. But Ukraine is the innocent party here of Russia, of course, not just invading Ukraine, but wanting to take back the whole USSR. I mean, I think that's pretty well known by everybody, right? You don't have to be a scholar to know that he's trying to go back to the glory days. Well, here's a Republican in another story that did not read the bill he voted for. He says the provision was unknown to me. Oh, this is not good. This is the new big, beautiful bill they're talking about, which is going to add trillions of dollars in debt. And, you know, they're doing these provisions late at night, and then they're forced to sign the bill without reading all the provisions, and things are being slid in all willy-nilly. And during this town hall, his audience lets him hear it. Have a listen.
This provision was unknown to me when I voted for the bill.
Can you please tell us why you voted to approve a budget bill that includes Section 70302, which effectively prohibits federal courts from enforcing contempt orders, which would then allow current and future administrations to ignore those contempt orders by removing the enforcement capabilities?
He's like, I skimmed it. I skimmed the bill. I put it through ChatGPT. I didn't know. I didn't do my homework.
I do not agree with that section that was added to that bill.
And isn't this the problem, this big, beautiful bill? You're forced to agree with everything, and if you don't agree with it, then Trump's going to try to get someone else to primary you and run in your place, and you're seen as this bad guy. They're kind of like, it's just absolutely, these big, giant bills are ridiculous because you get things that you don't agree with, and then they just vote for it, and they hope that in a couple years they'll get reelected, like people will forget. So the audience is yelling, you voted for it.
I will tell you this. I believe in the rule of law. I've taken an oath as an attorney. I've taken an oath as a state senator. I've taken an oath as a member of Congress. And I support our court system. And I do believe that the federal district courts, when issuing an injunction, should have legal effect. In fact, I relied upon that when the Biden administration was in place. The federal courts did a tremendous amount of good work.
So there he is. The audience not exactly on his side. They're yelling, you voted for this. And he's like, well, I didn't agree with it. So he's there to represent his people, and not representing them seems to be... Oh, we got more clips from him. And again, this is the Republican from Nebraska, U.S. Rep. Mike Flood's word salad defense of Republicans slashing health care for the poor while cutting taxes for the rich. Now, you have to understand, that's exactly what's happening. The very lowest tax brackets, the people that make the least amount of money, will pay more in taxes. Those that make a lot of money, I think they said, and I could be wrong here, you know, if you make $10 million, you're going to save $300,000. I mean, the point is this. If you have enough privilege to make that kind of money, you don't need your taxes slashed. You need your taxes increased. We need to take care of the whole country. What's the point of having a top 1 of 1% people that are so wealthy while everyone else is starving?
How do you justify the reduction of programs for poor while giving enormous tax breaks to the wealthiest 10% in the U.S.?
Well, ultimately, like I've said tonight, it's a balance. It's a balance. We need Medicaid for those that are the most vulnerable. We need Medicaid for those that are not able-bodied. We need Medicaid for the developmentally disabled and the mentally ill. We need health care services. We need EMTALA to work at our area hospitals. We need to know that if you present yourself at a hospital, we have a health care system that's going to help you. We are balancing that every single day. In fact, Republicans said that we need to protect Medicaid.
And they're yelling, tax the rich. Tax the rich.
All right, next question.
He goes, next question. No more questions. Tax the rich. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. We have never seen this much wealth disparity in our country since the Gilded Age. And by that, I mean the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor. It started, and progressed during COVID, where companies were extracting more money and more profits, claiming it was due to inflation when it was really greedflation. We're going to see it with the tariffs. Oh, we got new tariff pricing coming in. It's like, bro, you're a lemonade stand. You didn't make, whatever. But you're going to see the just wringing the neck of the poor as the rich get richer. What are we going to do as a country to stop it? How about we elect people that are willing to tax the rich? And I know what you might be thinking, Dave, I make six figures. We're not talking about you and your six-figure salary. We're talking about the ultra-wealthy people, right? Those that are going to benefit from the $500,000 and above are the ones that are going to get less taxes. And this idea of it trickling down to the common person, it's laughable. Absolutely laughable. All right. Well, I actually had more I wanted to talk about. Let's just quickly cover what's going on in Gaza as people are rushing the fences and barricades in southern Gaza on the first day of the U.S.-Israeli-backed aid situation. This is exactly what they didn't want to happen, that being only one tiny little place to distribute aid for millions of people.
This is the chaotic scene that unfolded at a newly opened aid distribution site in southern Gaza, prompting American security contractors who are manning the facility to actually withdraw. In videos from the scene, you can see crowds of Palestinians climbing over barriers, tearing down fences, desperate to get their hands on what little aid remained at that site.
And one of the issues with this is the security risk for those Palestinians, because it's concentrating all these people into one place. If there is a event, a bombing or whatever, it's like they're sitting ducks. Now, we'll have more on this story come tomorrow, but it's good to see that people are starting to get some food. But again, if this is just, a pound of flour, and they're getting these little boxes and they have to bring them back to their full family. These are just the people that made it to southern Gaza that were able to get to that distribution center. What they need is like 1,000. They had 100 trucks come in, 9,000 waiting. They need 9,000 trucks just to keep up, stock the shelves, and help these innocent lives. I'm glad the world is coming together. I'm glad everyone's seeing it for what it is and is putting maximum pressure on governments to make sure that these innocent children and families get fed. All right, that's it for us. We'll be back in the morning, as always, with more. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.